thing. Oh, somebody else just come up.
Greg and Lou.
You know what? Forget them.
Okay.
All right, let's do the intro, and then we will be right back.
It's time for Red Salad Review with your hosts, Wayne Moon, Greg Donald, and Lou Max.
What is up, everybody? Hello. We are here with Tony Webster. What's up, Tony Webster?
What's going on, sir?
Not much, man. Hey Stan, how are you?
How are you guys? How's it going? Always good
Everything?
to see you guys here on a Wednesday night.
What's the first time you've met Tony?
How you doing, Tony?
How's it going, man?
Eh, it's
Stan's
going.
I've known Stan for a very, very long time, but he's kind of new to this show. So
Yeah.
he's getting used to it though. He's doing a good job, I think.
Eh,
I might get rid of the other two guys and then just me and Stan will do the show from now on.
eh. At least we're never late.
That's right. We're always on time.
I'm
And,
just here thinking of excuses to unfriend Wayne on Facebook.
I can give you plenty. You don't have to think. Well,
I got rid of Facebook because I got tired of seeing Wayne, so I just got rid of it altogether.
real nice, real nice. Lou is joining us.
Cheerio, gentlemen.
Hello. Nice frazzled hair you have there.
Thank you.
Been a long day, I guess, right?
Very long day, but that's okay because the night's here and I'm feeling good.
Great. That's all that matters. Catman is in the chat. Sup, boys? Wayne, Stan, Tony. No, Lou. Yes, Lou is here. Greg, I don't know. Greg's always a surprise.
Probably no Greg tonight.
No?
It's going,
Feeling
Catman.
very tired from a long day at work.
Oh, okay. Boo hoo. Anyway,
You don't even like Helloween anyway.
I don't even like Greg, so it doesn't matter. But thanks for everybody for tuning in. This is going to be a cool show because it's about Helloween, and everybody knows that I love Helloween, and they're my favorite band, and they're also Tony Webster's favorite band as well. And Tony, I don't know if anybody watched the show that Tony was on. God, that was like a year ago, wasn't it? I think at this point.
No,
Right.
it was much longer than ago. It was couple
Maybe
years
2 years
ago.
ago. Yeah, all right.
3 years ago. Long time ago.
Damn.
Well, hello, Tony.
Yeah. But Tony used to work with Helloween. Do you want to give people a little like a little synopsis of what you used to do with Helloween?
Well, basically, during the dawn of the internet, I ran their website.
Right.
That's pretty much, probably technically until I think I was really out of it in 2007. So after Keeper Legacy. So from that Better Than Raw era all the way through the mid 2000s, somewhere around there.
Cool.
Very cool.
And you got to know the
There's-
band pretty well, I would assume, right?
Of course. Yeah. I still know them. They're very good dudes. We hang out. I mean, people know that. I mean, it's probably been the most well-known thing about my show. So I would probably say, yeah. I know 5 of the 7 guys really well. We'll put it that way.
And who's the one who do you not know as well?
Well, I don't really
imagine?
know. Yeah, Kai or Kiski, because they weren't really in the band back when I first got to know them. So I just don't know them that well.
Have you ever got to interview Kiski or Kai?
Yes, many times. I would say on the actual podcast, I've only interviewed Kiski. Kai, I had on a radio show a number of times over the last 27 years. But I would say I did an interview with him in the podcast 2022. So it would have been August of 22. Typically, I'll probably have those guys on before they come and tour the U.S., whenever that is. So
Right.
when I had them on.
Yeah.
Radio show, I've had them on plenty of times. I'm actually, it's funny they have this 40th anniversary tour, and I'm doing these episodes on each one of their albums, and I have 27 years of interviews with these guys that I will be bringing parts of those interviews into each of those episodes, depending on the album. I actually have one from Michael Kiske from 1999, where when I do the Chameleon episode is quite interesting. So there's a lot of really cool insights into that album. And, we don't really talk about that album now, but back then, he wasn't in the band. That was the last album he did with them. So it was about, he'd only been out of the band for 6 years, maybe at that point. So, but there's some cool insights on that.
Very cool. Yeah, when we had Roland on, I think a couple of years ago, we've talked about that album, and I like that album a lot. A lot of people don't, and I understand why, but I think it's good.
The 3-man solo album.
Yeah,
that's pretty much what they refer
right.
to.
Yeah, but it's good. I actually do enjoy it. But we're not here to talk about those old albums, even though I'd love to talk about them over and over and over again. We're here to talk about the new album, Giants and Monsters. And Tony, you've heard this before I heard it. I actually found out through you that you actually got the the promo or whatever, and then I had to find it where you got it from or whatever, and you'd let me know. And so I've been listening to it for about like 2 weeks or so, or a week and a half or something like that. And I started out listening to it, and it's like, all right, it's okay, but it's not living up to my expectations so far. That's like on my second listen. I'm like, why am I not catching on to this? Usually I put a Helloween album on, the first or second song, I'm into the album already. It doesn't usually take me that long to get to a Helloween album. But this one, it was just like, when am I going to like this? I hope I do, but it took me a while. Then I mentioned it to you, and you're like, give it a break for a little while and then go back to it. And I did. And then about the third or fourth time I did listen to it, then it started to click with me. And then now I have every single song in my head. I know them all, almost all the words, some of the words, but I know what songs or what. And it just, it's one of my favorite albums so far, I think. And I think it's one of your favorite Helloween albums too, right, Tony?
I would probably put it in the top 5.
Wow.
If I were to rank it. The thing is that so one of the things about me, regardless of how much I like a band, I always have to listen to it for probably I have to listen to it quite a bit. And that goes for any record. It's not just them, it's anybody. So when I gave you the contact info to the publicist, that where you can, get the promo and everything, I had already, when you had messaged me, I'd only had listened to the album probably 5 or 6 times, but I've now had it for quite some time, since the beginning of July. And I had, before I did my review, I don't know if you listened to the review that I did or watched it or whatnot, but basically I love the record, to be honest. I like it better than the last one, for sure.
Yeah, definitely me too. It's more cohesive album. And I watched your interview with Sasha today too, which was very good. And Lou had an interview with Sasha too, right, Lou?
Yeah, we're talking like 4 years ago. So.
Everything seems like a year or two ago, but I'm forgetting, like, really, it was like 4 years ago.
Well, I mean, that was one of the longest strings of episodes that we had done. Yeah. Like everything leading up to the self-titled release, and you got to interview Danny, and I got to interview Sasha. So I think we ended up getting a lot of subs and a lot of eyes on Rat Side Review because of that. So that was good calling your part.
Yeah, my biggest regret over the last, because I was around the band when Sasha joined, and same thing with Danny. Actually, funnily enough, the last ever real press release or online update from the band I wrote was when Danny joined. But one of my regrets of my show is not having those two guys on more often. Because it was more, I always had Andy and Wyke on most of the time, Marcus on, but I never really had those guys on as much. And I finally had Sasha on, and this is a sin, and shame on me for this, but the first time I ever had him on any kind of show or anything that I've ever done for as long as he's been in the band was in 2022. I think early 22. I think it was early 23 actually. And when I first had met him, I mean, we have a lot in common. He's big in photography, so am I. And we hung out. When they came here for Gambling with the Devil tour, I mean, I hung out with him in downtown Chicago for better part of a day. And same thing with Marcus, and hung out with those guys and a few shows on the Gambling with the Devil tour. So, because that was their first time coming, his first time coming there in a long time. But when I interviewed him this last time, the one thing that's a lot of fun is kind of, we kind of did a little trip down memory lane. You probably saw some of these old photos that were sent to me way, way many years ago from his first promo tour. But it's a lot of fun. He's a really good dude. Like I said, him and I have a lot in common, and he's also my age too. He's about 7 months older than I am.
Right.
So we're in the same age bracket. Right. So, I remember everything that happened when he joined. So we talked pretty in depth about that. And a lot of people really, to be honest, when I interview people, it's all about the story. It's not as much about me. It's about their story.
Right. Right.
And I wanted people to really hear his story, about everything that he had done in the band. I think people have overlooked him. I think his new song his songs on the album, in my opinion, are the two best that he wrote. And for if you listen to the interview, and it's part of the reason why I like this second album a lot better, is the fact that these guys just grew together. The last album was very, very good. I would probably say Fear of the Fallen, probably, in my opinion, the best song Andy Darris ever wrote. The album was good. I don't think it flowed as well as this new one does. I think the songs feel like they fit together a lot better on the upcoming album on Giants and Monsters. And it's all due to the fact that they were in uncharted territory on the self-titled album. And I said this, so I started talking about this album in December. I had that little surprise Andy Darris interview in December, and we talked about it. When I asked him about the album, he was talking about the new album. It's easier to listen to. It doesn't feel as exhausting. He mentioned it flows better. And I didn't realize what he meant by that until I actually listened to it. And then I was like, oh, wow, he's right. Because when I was listening to the record, and with any new album, every album I listen to, I have to listen to it multiple times to kind of absorb it. But the first thing I noticed is how well everything flowed together. The band felt more relaxed. And that's because, they had already made a record together, because with the self-titled album, you were basically in uncharted territory with two guys that had not been in the band in a long time. It's one thing to tour with them. It's another thing to make a record. So they learned a lot about each other. And one of the things Andy talked about in that interview was there was more confidence going in and recording it. Sasha even alluded to that a little bit, to hey, we trust each other more because we know each other. And if you hear what he said, one of the key words that he said in that interview we just did a couple weeks ago was the fact that, he kind of worked with Kai Hansen a little bit more on stuff. These guys started, really working together a little bit more on stuff. And you can tell that they've done that. You hear Andy Darris singing on, both the songs Kai wrote, both the songs that Kai wrote, you're just hearing more flow. It just flows better. Everything fits together better. And I think that's the difference between this album, the upcoming one, and the last one. And, everybody didn't a lot of people were pissed off. Not everybody, but, there were people pissed off about This Is Tokyo. And we can talk about that in a little bit later. But I told everybody the album doesn't sound like that. I can guarantee you it won't sound like that.
No, it's the only song. There's another song that sounds a little similar, but it's actually like that one a little bit more. But
we could talk about that. But what I'm saying is that the album flows better.
Yeah.
And I think when it comes to the songwriting and the collection of songs as a whole, as they fit together, I like better than the previous one.
Right.
Not saying the previous one's bad. It's not.
Right.
But again, you're in uncharted territory. The album doesn't flow quite as well. And the songs don't fit together as well on the self-titled album as they do in the new one. So I think people that really weren't a big fan of the previous album, I think they're really going to like the next one quite a bit. Just from my gauge of the fan base over the years, I can probably tell you that people that didn't like the previous one will like this one.
Hope so. I saw another person, actually, K-Man. I can't, what, Khalil? What the hell's his name? You know him, Lou.
Khalil from the Jerky Boys.
No. I don't know. You know who I'm talking about, though. He heard the album and he gave a big review about it today, and he didn't really like it at all. I'm like, really? Because, I'm reading his review and just things that he says just don't make sense to me. But whatever. But Lou, you like the last album a lot. You're kind of a new Helloween fan, and you really love that last album. So what do you think about it compared to this new one?
Number one, don't remind me that my first Helloween album was Metal Jukebox, please.
You always got. Want to hear something funny about that? That was the first album I helped them promote on the internet. So just
well, I was one of the college radio stations that played it.
Mm-hmm. So was I.
So good job on that. But yeah, I mean, I was suckered. I mean, I was drawn into Helloween because of the that marathon album review that we did.
Yeah, that's right.
And I realized, holy crap, these guys are amazing. And I was looking forward to the self-titled album when it dropped. And yeah, I still to this day sing its praises. However, I think Giants and Monsters is better. I will actually say they topped themselves from the previous album with this one. And I'm happy to say that. Definitely sounds like a more cohesive unit. I mean, I will still say to this day that my favorite Helloween album is Time of the Oath. I love Sasha. I think he's great. I mean, the contributions he's made to Helloween have been immense. I mean, from Open Your Life off of Rabbit Don't Come Easy to Best Time off the recent album. But, I definitely was a fan of Roland's playing and songwriting style. So, I'm it's not that I'm more biased towards that album, but I guess it was just the album that we listened to in that discography that just stuck out to me the most.
Roland wrote like half a song on that album, just so you know.
What do you mean half a song?
He wrote the music to Time of the Oath, but he didn't write the lyrics. That was the only song he wrote.
That's all he did on that album?
Yep.
Are you saying he did more on the Kiski albums that he played on?
So he didn't write any songs on Better Than Raw. He wrote one song on the Time of the Oath, the title track. And then he, on like Dark Ride, he had a couple tracks. Pink Bubbles, I think, still is his best album. He wrote 4 songs there and 4 songs on Chameleon,
which is amazing.
Yep. So
okay, only definitely more of his guitar playing on his album, on that album.
The guy that really started songwriting on Time of the Oath was Uli.
That's correct. He's right. And we discussed that when we were talking about Time of the Oath, how much of a role Uli played. Yep. And,
and it's a good record. Cool I look at the transition of, when you have a major change in the band, a lot of times they get the one album under their belt and the next one's usually a lot better, right? Master of the Rings was a great album. You had a big lineup change. Time of the Oath, in my opinion, much better. You look at an album like Keep Your Legacy, which, ended up getting some bad reviews because of the name, but you had, the whole drummer merry-go-round going on back then for those that don't know about that. And then Gambling with the Devil came out. The band had been together, this is the second album that 5-piece had recorded, and the reviews were much better. And I think the album flowed a lot better. So I kind of equate this new record compared to the self-titled kind of in the same way. It's what they've done as a matter of history for the most part. Mm-hmm. So it didn't shock me. I did a whole podcast on why, and without even hearing it, of why the next one I think would be better. And that's why. And when people heard Universe, the new single that came out, I told everybody, the responses were exactly what I thought they would be. You get a couple people that don't like it, Sasha's name is on it, so automatically they don't like it. Wayne was fighting with somebody in the comments on my page over that.
Oh, really?
And
Wayne fights with everybody.
But what people don't realize is that Sasha wrote the song. He wrote, the majority of the song, but he was like working with Kai on, parts of that, and I think that when you hear that track, I mean, it's a classic. I mean, you can't get any more classic sounding Helloween than that song. It's just, it's just, that's how it is. And I didn't know they were going to release it as a single, but they did. And the responses were phenomenal.
That's what people expected to hear. I think that was what they wanted to hear with that first single.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
Which is, what they released, This Is Tokyo. It's fine, because it's a little bit different. But that a Universe song, that's what people wanted to hear. And the Kiski singing that song, so that's why that got such a high praise, which is good, because I'm glad now people are more really wanting to hear this album than they were before.
There's a strategy involved with that, just so you know. I mean, I didn't get this from them, but it's marketing. So keep in mind that the Japanese market, how many of you guys, I'm sure everybody here at some point was all excited back in the old days to buy the Japanese version of the album with the bonus track, right?
Right.
But keep in mind that market has been consistent, whether metal died in the US or not, regardless of any trends that were out there. So what you do is you go out and you want to pay tribute to that fan base. And that's what you do. You write a song in the style. So Andy Darius, I think it was the number one album or single that he had over there. The first one was in Japan. So what do? You write a song kind of in that style. And I don't know if and I'm going to put a preface out there. I don't know if he intended to do that or not. I haven't been able to ask. I haven't asked him about that. But let's say, for example, you write it in that style, and then you pay tribute to that fan base with that song, and you start off the first single like that. And it's kind of like, I don't know if you were sports fans, but that kind of single, a single like Skyfall and Fear of the Fallen, that's very atypical from what they had normally done in the past. It's always been, the more straight ahead hard rock song. Keeper 2, what did they release? I Want Out, Dr. Stein, the more straight ahead songs. It wasn't Eagle Fly Free. It wasn't Keeper of the Seven Keys. It wasn't March of Time. It wasn't any of those songs. So you put this track out and you pay tribute to the fan base that's probably been the most consistent as far as supporting your band or even metal in general. Then you go and you put out an epic song like Universe. So anybody that didn't like the This Is Tokyo song, your last memory is this classic Helloween song. It's kind of like college football, right? It's better to lose in the beginning of the season, right? And then people don't remember that as much, and you win the rest of your games, and then you get a higher ranking, get a bowl bid, and it's sort of the same kind of mentality. So I don't know what the next single will be. I'm assuming there's going to be a third one. If I were to guess, I would probably say it's one of the songs Kai wrote. Maybe We Can Be Gods. It could be something like that. But This Is Tokyo, the intention behind it, I'm sure, was to pay tribute to the Japanese fan base, writing a song in that style, and, in tribute to a fan base that's consistently supported your entire music career, because that's pretty much, Andy's first solo album did really well over there. All the Pink Cream stuff he did really well over there. And obviously they've supported Helloween and probably every other heavy metal band. Most people, their first audience, the first place they break it big, where they get a sizable audience, has always been Japan. Right. So
shameless plug, Japan. Don't forget about us.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
we haven't hit Japan yet.
So what I'm saying is that I understand the strategy involved in what they're doing. I don't know. And folks, people ask me, what do you think? What's the next single? I don't know. I don't ask them these things.
He doesn't have the inside info all the time. Sometimes.
No, I used to.
Yeah.
But I just don't ask it. They just go do what they need to do, and that's what it is. But I can tell you the reasoning behind it, and it makes sense. I said this in my review. I reviewed the single. I reviewed the album, and that's exactly what I said. But Universe has had a lot of great responses, and I think Sasha, he deserves a little bit of love for some of the stuff he's done. So
he really does. And that
Oh,
jerk and that jerk on Facebook. What he said was Sasha's never did it's something like Sasha never did anything in Halloween, or he doesn't do, whatever. Right. And I'm like, really?
Okay, what crack is that dude smoking?
I look it up online because I know he's done songs. My email address is one of the songs that he wrote. So I'm like, how many songs did he actually
Way to give it up, Wayne.
Yeah, well, I don't care. You
all
can send me whatever.
there were other people in the comments that went after him.
Yeah. But I look it up and it's like
I mean-
30, 31 songs or something. I'm like, this guy's a fucking moron. He has no idea what he's talking about.
Yeah, and he's such a great guy. I mean, we were talking about like you know, the recording process for the self-titled. We were talking about gear. You know, we were talking about like, you know, the different audiences. I mean, like we could have kept going on and on. I wasn't going to usurp him like you did Danny, Wayne, so I kept it at a half hour.
Well,
But you know, Helloween was definitely one of those bands at first. Like, I'll give you an example, like Chameleon. Tony, I didn't like Chameleon at all when I first heard it. Now I can't stop listening to it. I mean, that album has definitely grown on me.
Yeah.
I think time has healed any wounds of people that hated that record. I don't think people dislike it like they did probably when it came out. But again, I got into the band in the mid 90s. So I think 96, 95, 96. So, you know, Chameleon was like, it was like impossible to get it. He had to get it as an import and then he had to pay like $30 for it back then. It was a lot more money, you know. So
didn't you have to get it as an import, Wayne?
yeah.
Like $35 when I got it. I think.
That was $30 for me. I got the Japanese version of it.
Japanese.
Yeah.
I was lucky I got anything.
I was a high roller back then. I used to go and buy the Japanese versions of bands I really loved to get the one bonus track.
My mother had to buy all my stuff.
the one bonus track, which ended up being on all the singles I bought. So
right. Funny. A lot of people in the chat here. Brooklyn GQ. Greeting, fellows. Hello, Brooklyn. Jim Harris. Yes, I see him on Facebook every once in a while. Says "We Can Be Gods" is a wicked track. Love this upcoming album. You are correct, sir.
Yeah.
I can't.
We Can Be Gods. We Can Be Gods. When I first heard that, I said, "Did you watch my review?"
I didn't watch the review. No.
Oh,
it's a good song. That's one of my favorite songs on the album.
I'm gonna
so you know what? So Wayne is too busy fighting with people on Facebook, trying to harass him. And then he hasn't watched the review. So the review, that song, some of the parts in it reminded me of "Somewhere Out in Space" by Gamma Ray.
There's a lot on this album that reminds me of some Gamma Ray songs.
And like that bridge part going into the chorus, when I heard that, I'm like, dude, this could be on "Somewhere Out in Space." The thing that's great about that song, guys, in my opinion, when you listen to it, in some of the songs you can tell who's probably going to sing next, like the next line. That one you don't know. It's like it's almost completely random. And what I believe that they did, to be honest with you, I believe everybody sang everything, you know, and it was then they picked out the best parts, right?
Okay.
You know, similar thing, like for those of you that remember the Three Tremors band that like Sean and Peck and Harry Conklin and you know, Ripper did.
Yes.
So they sang. well, the thing is, they sang everybody sang everything, and they picked out the best parts.
Yeah.
So
sometimes.
so what I'm saying is that, but where I'm going with this is that that's what I believe they did, and so you pick out the best parts.
That's logical.
Whereas I think on the previous album, what happened was, you know, some people didn't feel, and I could be wrong on that, but I believe that's what they did. But when you go to the previous album, I don't think they really did that. I think they picked out what parts they felt comfortable with, and that's what people did.
Maybe.
So there's a different approach to it. But again, you can't predict. We Could Be Gods. You can't predict who's singing what. And that song goes a lot of different ways that you don't expect. Even if you have listened to Kai Hansen's songwriting in the past, it was actually a pretty unpredictable song. It was a really nice surprise, actually. But that's definitely, you know, like if they put that out as a single, it would actually go over really well.
Yeah, I think so. There's not one song on this album that could not be a single. To me.
Yes, but I'm talking about maybe for you and me, but you have to look at the masses. They don't think like we do.
I know.
Yeah.
Stan, I haven't let you talk yet. You've been listening to the album quite a while now. What are your thoughts on it?
So all right, you know what, I admit it took me. I really liked the previous album, and this one took me a while to get into because it seems more at least in the beginning it seemed more dense
There's a
and
lot going on, and you got
there's
to
a
really pay
yeah
attention.
there's definitely a lot going on and you just needed to give the songs like a bunch more listens just to get a just to absorb everything properly. But I do like it better than the previous album now.
Now,
So
okay, you're
it
coming
has
around
grown
now.
on me. It has grown on me. I feel like overall it's a very vocally driven album.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like, I hate to say it, but like, there just aren't many memorable riffs here. Like, there's not much that sticks out to me, in my opinion. But there are so many strong vocal melodies that make up for that. And to me, like, these the two singers, or well, three singers, basically they're just carrying the whole album. In my opinion, and I think that's the biggest strength on this album: the vocal abilities and the performances from the singers.
Yeah.
So it's also a lot of like '80s kind of like some '80s feel throughout the album, especially with like songs like what do you call it, "Savior of the World," "A Little Is a Little Too Much."
Yeah.
Yeah, those are like they sound like they could have been like well, a little is a little too much could have been like a Pink Cream song,
Right.
maybe. But yeah, I mean, I definitely most of the album I like. There are a couple of tunes that just I don't know, like "Hand of God," "Under the Moonlight." Those two.
Oh, those Under the Moonlight one. That's one of my favorites.
Is it really?
Yeah.
I don't know. Just I don't know. It's okay, but I just feel like they have like much better material on here than the other.
They haven't done a song like
Those.
that in quite a while, so it was refreshing to hear that.
Oh, dude. I mean, are we gonna go like track by track or?
No,
Yeah, I was about to ask.
no, we don't have to do track by track.
Hand of God is probably far different than most of what they've ever done.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's got this like synth, arpeggiated synth in the background and stuff like that. I don't think I even heard something like that, like from Halloween
This is a very
before.
keyboardy, synthy heavy
Yeah,
album in a way, I think. There's a lot of keyboards going on here.
It reminds me of something they probably could have put on the Dark Ride.
I love that
Okay.
album. That
Yeah.
is my favorite Halloween album, The Dark Ride.
Like for example, the song, um, one of the songs on that album actually had keyboard parts. The Departed, and they muted them or turned them way down. But the original version had a lot of keyboards like that. But like even Sasha said that probably could be something that could have ended up on an album like that. And I agree with him, but that's a much different song. It's one of those songs I absolutely love it, but it's going to have like that mixed. They always have one or two songs that are different from a lot of the stuff they've done, and sometimes you'll get people's opinions are all over the place on it. And that's the one I predict where people's opinions will be all over the place.
Definitely.
Uh,
What's go ahead.
you
I
know,
actually did write notes for each of the songs, but
All right, go ahead.
are you
Yeah.
Oh,
sure?
let's
Yeah, me
stay and
too.
finish. Let's stay and finish, and then and you can talk.
Yeah, let's
Sure.
then finish.
So, I mean, I have notes for each song, so we could just go.
All right, quickly.
We could just start with the first one. Like the
That
Giants
would
on the
help.
Run.
We'll
Giants
go,
on the Run.
let's go random.
I mean, this is one that I can't get into because it's just too long. There's too many parts, and it kind of loses me. I don't feel like it's
And you
like
call yourself a prog metal fan. Phooey.
yeah, whatever.
Hit the mute button on this guy.
I could have it could have been a better song if it was trimmed down a bit and maybe more cohesive because it just feels like there's like random parts just stitched together. Just like a new part just comes out of nowhere and just like continues on with the song. I don't
I,
know.
I agree a little bit, but they make it work though.
They've
Well,
always done that.
Yeah.
I mean, Savior of the World. That's classic
They gotten so
Halloween.
progressive over the last, I don't know.
I mean, they've
20
always been
years.
kind of progressive with that, and I think that personally for me, I think that's one of the better opening songs they've had in a long time.
Yes, I will agree.
So, Savior of the World, that's classic Halloween. This is my favorite song on the
Mhm.
album. I mean, Kiska just, sounds phenomenal here. It's amazing how, like, him and Andy are, like, pushing 60 and they still sound as good as they ever have been.
Mhm. This
So,
is like I think the highest Kiski sounded. Like there's a couple high notes that he hits there, and I never heard him hit those high notes before.
Yeah,
he gets them here on
he
this
goes
song. I
keeper
mean,
level on some of these songs.
Yeah,
yeah,
definitely.
this song is like something. It comes straight from Keepers. I mean, it's like my favorite song on the album. The melodies are really nice. A little too much. I mean, I know you guys were earlier talking about like how
Can I say one thing?
yeah.
The exact thing you said about Savior of the World, as far as it being on the Keeper records, that's like literally verbatim what I said about that song in my review. Just want to let you know.
He watched the review, so he's just verbalizing everything you said.
I mean, it does. It sounds like
Yes,
classic
Stan is a
Halloween.
grade A plagiarist.
No, he didn't,
So,
because the first song I would disagree with him on.
Well, he only took out the
So
good parts.
there goes your theory.
Stan created Chat GPT. Go ahead, Stan.
so a little is a little too much. I mean, you guys were talking about what the next single could be. I think it's this one. I mean, it'll be hard not to
It's not gonna
like.
be, but I
No,
wish
you
it
don't think
was.
so?
No, I think the slow song's gonna be, but we'll see.
Yeah, I like this one too. I mean, it's pretty very catchy. Just like this one, this is Tokyo. I mean, these are
It's
like
a really cool. I love that keyboard
simple.
thing that's in there. That's really
Yeah,
catchy, and it sounds like an accept song. Like it's like an accept and like a Kiss song, Psycho Circus, like blended together, or like a Scorpion song.
very
It's just yeah,
80s.
it's very
Yeah,
80s.
it's
Very
yeah.
80s.
That song is kind of cool. It kind of sounds like it's the classic songwriting style Andy has always done, and it almost has. You brought up 80s, a little bit of that, and a little bit of like a futuristic feel to it. I don't know.
Yeah,
It's weird, but I like that song quite a bit, actually.
I love that. So that was the first song I really liked on the album.
We Can Be Gods, very catchy chorus. I like the piano touch.
Mhm.
The instrumental sections are really cool, like and all the tension building and stuff. So this is my second favorite song. Into the Sun. Uh, it sounds like it could have been like a Bond song. It's got that vibe to me.
A Bond song?
Yeah, a James Bond song.
Oh, Bond. Right.
Yeah, it just yeah. I think it's like because of the orchestral arrangement.
Mhm.
It just has that nice sound like Bond in space. I don't know.
It's my
It's just
favorite slow song that they've written so far.
It's it's about reincarnation.
it's a really good ballad. I really like it.
Really good.
Universe. We talked about that one. That's a great song.
My
Uh,
favorite song on the album.
Hand of God is it's okay. Under the Moonlight, it's okay. I mean, Majestic. I mean, that's a crazy tune. That's got to be like a Kai Hansen song. Like I'm not sure who
It
wrote what.
is.
Oh, it
Right.
is.
Yeah,
Okay.
Kai wrote it.
Yeah.
About
So
aliens, it's Kai wrote it.
yeah, if it's about aliens, I think Kai Hansen wrote
Yeah.
it. So most likely. Yeah. So there's a lot going on this song,
And
but
most of the
it's
songs are
pretty
like
good.
7 or 8 minutes because you don't like how long the first one is, and most of them are 7-ish minutes or so.
Yeah, Majestic is cool.
Surprised.
A lot of all of these songs have really good choruses.
They all do. I remember
They all have really
they're
really
very
good
memorable.
strong choruses. That's all I got.
And see, Universe is 8 minutes and 24 seconds, and Majestic is 8 minutes and 8 seconds, and the first song, Giants on the Run, is 6 minutes and 21 seconds. So you said it was too
Yeah,
long.
Giants. Honestly, it should have been trimmed. I don't know. It just feels like random parts stitched together. Like in my opinion, I don't know. It could have been a better song.
You're allowed to have it.
But like I said, like to me, this is a more it definitely flows better than the previous album. Um, it's easier to digest, and I feel like this is more of this is the album that kind of like showcases the three singers more than the previous one. Like
Yeah.
they're kind of leading the way here because instrumentally, I mean, there's just not much there. Like I don't hear any like riffs that really grab me. I know that's probably like sacrilege to say,
It is. This is your last time on the show.
yeah, but
Till next
I
time.
don't know. For me, like the vocal melodies are the one thing that's sticking to me. That they're just that they really they really delivering on that. So
Yeah, they did. All right, Lou, what about you?
All right. So Giants on the Run. For anyone who was unhappy with Helloween's previous self-titled album, I think the opening track here should appease you. Definitely a combo when you combine pop sensibilities with Helloween of 1985. All in all, a great opening track. Great to hear a song with Kai's leads. And this one had some killer guitar work. One thing though, the mix sounds soft, but I don't mind it. For whatever reason, it sounds good on my headphones. By the way, I thought that was Blothar the Berserker from Guar singing that heavy spoken word part,
Oh,
but it was in fact Kai Hansen.
Yeah. That sounded like King
Uh,
Diamond.
what's that?
It sounded a little like King Diamond, but yeah, it was weird. Came out of
I
nowhere.
said Blothar.
I know.
Okay. Savior of the world.
pay attention, Wayne.
That's right. Michael Kiske back on vocals, still hitting them soaring highs and hitting the powerful lows. Definitely love his voice more now, more refined. Love the music, melodic and catchy as only Kiske era Helloween can be. A little is a little too much. Helloween definitely reminded me of Pink Cream 69 on this track. And I'm not just saying that because it's Andy on vocals, but I like it a lot. I hear single material with this track, as we discussed. Could be a possible radio hit. Then again, I forget it's butt rock and dad rock that's on the radio all the time. But one could only hope. We Can Be Gods. Just when I want to say that Blind Guardian is the best power metal band of all time, Helloween remind me why I'm wrong. And this track reminds me of when I fell in love with Yngwie's solo band. And of course, Helloween could do Yngwie better than Yngwie because it's fucking Helloween. Into the Sun. I'm really liking how everyone's voices are blended on this record. And this one is a killer ballad that could rival Forever and One as their best. And as you just said, Wayne, it's your favorite ballad from them so far.
Yeah. Can I tell you something?
Sure.
In my review of that song, if for those of you that have seen them live, they do they do Forever and One. They put the little chairs down and they kind of sit on the stage and sing that. I actually in a review said that Into the Sun would be the perfect replacement for that song in the set.
It would be.
I'd agree with that. This is Tokyo. This song is definitely growing on me more. I still think a little too much would have been considering what we just said right now, Tony. I'm sorry, I'm going to retract that statement because I get what you meant by why they released This is Tokyo as the first single. I could definitely see though how this will be a fist in the air anthem at their concerts. All in all, a good track. Universe, great track, but I realized that the production quality on this record is light years different than the previous. It almost kind of sounds similar to the route that In Flames took with Soundtrack to Your Escape until they're more not that one, the one that was released before it, but they both had like similar production qualities. Where up until their most recent one, where where the drums are not pounding in your ears, dare I say the C word, maybe it's more compressed, but Marcus's bass definitely pops. And this might have been one of the few songs where the production from the self-titled would have sufficed it better. Regardless, good track, and I'm just making observations. And the last part reminds me of Sasha's section from The Best Time, the Yesterday is History. It's kind of like a nice reprisal of that. Loving the harmonizing guitar parts. Hand of God, my favorite track on the album. Sorry, Stan.
Whoa. Okay.
I'm a sucker for melody and killer solos, and this reminds me of like Priest almost. That's how much I love it.
Tony, who wrote this one?
Sasha.
Oh, okay.
So let me just tell you, Lou, that I think that's one of the best songs anyone's ever written for the band.
I would agree with that.
That middle solo section, like the instrumental part in the middle. Yeah. So, and the reason I like it so much is that it's a lot different. But again, that the melodies that he plays, that those guys play in that middle section of that song are absolutely incredible. I think it's outside of the box. I don't think everybody's going to like it, but it is definitely one of my favorite. People are going to have a lot of different opinions of that song, but I will say that for me, that's probably I said in my review, the two songs on this album are my two favorite songs probably Sasha's ever written for the band.
Mm.
Good call. Finally, Majestic. I hate to admit it, but this is probably my least favorite song on the album. But it's not bad. It's just compared to the other ones, I didn't get the rise from this one that I did the other ones. But it's still a good song.
You skipped the song.
But
Yeah, I think you did. The
Under the Moonlight?
Yeah,
Yeah.
You skipped it.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you. So for this one, I said, dang, I didn't think Kiski could sing like he used to and combine it so flawlessly with his current vocal style. Definitely missed that about him. And it was a good track. And that's my review.
I think a lot of people will love Majestic, to be honest. I like it better than Skyfall. That's just my own preference. But you're the first person I know that's heard it that track didn't do anything for you.
Didn't
in
do
all
much
honesty.
for me. I'm saying
Again, I'm not insulting the song. I mean, it's good, but compared to the rest of the album, like if I were to say, what's your 10th favorite song on the album, I would say Majestic, because I just think the other ones are just that much better.
I agree.
But it's not a bad song at all.
Catman wants to know, what do you think of the guitar tone?
Catman always wants to know what I think of the guitar tone. I love it. I think it's probably some of the best that I've heard them do. I'm trying to think, because like I said, I like the self-titled, but I really love their stuff on Seven Sinners, when the guitars got heavier, but I mean, with Helloween, it's like, they're not consistent in terms of, they don't put the same album out all
They're always
the time.
trying
So
something different. So.
They're always trying something different. So I always appreciate it when they're trying something different, whether it's like a different kind of gain that they're putting on the guitar or a clean part here and there. I mean, Roland was using guitars with single coil pickups, and it was some of the best tone I ever heard on record. So I think for this album, the tone was perfect.
And Tony, I was listening to your interview with Sasha today, and I was surprised because he said that they wanted him to prove himself, like, because they didn't really work with him too much, and it kind of struck me funny because on the last album they let him sing a song or parts of the song, whatever.
A chorus,
yeah. But but they didn't use that song, which was the Golden Times, which was the best song on that whole entire album. They didn't put it on there. And then on this album, they let him write two songs. So it was kind of strange to me that he said that they left that song as a bonus track. So I thought that was weird.
Well, so here's what I'll tell you. I think that with them, with the way that they write track, with the amount of songs they write, number one, all of the songs on the self-titled album, regardless of whether you put Golden Times on there, or any of the other bonus tracks on the record, it just, the way the record flowed is not the same as this one. But Golden Times would, a lot of people said that, but
I don't think it would have fit on the album in general, though. I don't think it would have flowed anywhere on that album.
No, and I think that's probably part of the reason you put it on there. Also, keep in mind, one of the things that they write really great bonus tracks. They're like one of the few bands out there that
yes.
that does that. So, like when you look at, like Lou brought up Seven Sinners, for example, one of the coolest songs on that album, two of the coolest songs that were recorded for that album, were not on the album. One is a song called Aiming High, which a lot of people didn't hear because the only way you would have ended up getting that song is if you bought the iTunes version of the album. It was a bonus track for iTunes. And then there was a song called Free, which is a B-side to the single, the Are You Metal single. But obviously the reissues, you have, all these tracks on there, even the Japanese bonus track that, was on the album. But they always write great bonus tracks. And that's usually a great incentive to buy the special edition of the album. So a great example of how they've done that. Go look at Gambling with the Devil. And the reason I bring that album up is because each territory or each area of the world had their own bonus track. And it was an incentive. They take it's like straight out of the comic book industry, right? When people buy comic books, you have variants, right? They do that with vinyl records. Well, you have a bonus track for the US. You have, I think it was 2 bonus tracks for Europe. You have a bonus track for Japan. So you have all these different areas that each had a bonus track, but they're good enough to where you are incentivized to really want to get that version of the album. So I have not heard the bonus track, Out of Control, which is Marcus wrote. That's on the earbook version of the album. But I'm going to assume it's probably pretty good, and it's an incentive to do that. So Golden Times is a great song, but also keep in mind that Sasha, the first time he worked with Michael Kiske in the studio was for that album. So it almost, so when you hear Universe, they kind of picked up that collaboration where Golden Times sort of left off. And if you're somebody that really, you hear that song and you want a physical copy of the album, I'm going to go buy that version with that song on it so I can get that track. And that's how their bonus tracks basically are. Time of the Oath had a whole album full of bonus tracks. My God Given Right. They wrote more songs for that album than any other album they ever put out, and you have a lot of bonus tracks that are very good. I brought a couple of them up. So that's just kind of how it happened, and again, the previous album, they really had to. It was uncharted territory. If you go and listen or watch the interviews I did with like Andy and Kiske and the way they talk about it, it's much different. These guys, it's a lot of work. You got to figure out who's going to sing what. The band has never been in that predicament before where they've had 3 singers in the band. Yeah. And, it was like 48%, Andy, it was like 48% Andy, 48% Kiske, and a little bit of Kai on the last album. Now Kai sang a little bit more on this record. So I think they ironed that out and figured that out and got to know each other. So that's kind of how it is. And I don't want people to misconstrue that when he talked about, oh yeah, we trust each other more. These guys didn't distrust each other. Right. They just didn't know each other. Right. And I don't think he probably just because, English is a second language. I don't think the way he conveyed that, some people, I actually got emails on that, like misinterpreted that. Like they were trying to say, "Oh, these guys don't like each other." No, it has nothing to do with that. It has the fact that they just don't know each other. They just didn't know each other.
They weren't comfortable in that environment recording with each other.
And you have to.
That would have been a better word. Yeah,
and you have to have that experience in doing that.
Right.
In the way they approached the whole thing, I think was great. Now, Wayne, you watched and listened to the interview, whatever you did. If you remember when he talked about joining the band, that they never told him he was technically a member of. Okay.
To this day, I think he said too, right?
But what I'm saying is that when he joined the band, he met up with Wyke, didn't play any music,
right?
And ended up getting, they ended up getting to know each other, right? And hung out with each other, for quite a while, actually. And I remember when that happened. They didn't play guitar together right from the beginning. They already, it was more about how are you going to fit in this band from a personal level. And I mean, they know he can play, right. They know he can write songs. They how are you going to fit in on a personal level? And I think the same thing happened with the Pumpkins United thing. If you listen to or watch the interview with Michael Kiske, what did they do? He ended up going over to where Andy lives. They hung out for quite a while, a few months actually, I believe, to see if they like each other. And then once that happened and they hit it off really well, which I thought they would, then they already knew Kai because they went on a tour with him. These guys knew Kai for years.
Right.
So they approached it that way. And then, okay, we're going to do a tour. Let's do a single. Let's do a tour. And, the tour was going to determine whether they were going to do the album. Because here's the thing. When you go on tour, let's say you guys get into a fight or don't like each other, right?
Yeah.
You can go on stage for 2 hours and then you don't have to see each other again. You can go to whatever corner of the bus you want to go to or a hotel or whatever.
Right.
But it's different if you go and make a record, because then you're around each other. So
there.
So what they, because if you remember, they didn't announce doing any kind of record at all.
Mm-hmm.
They just announced the tour. So they did the tour. It went so well, and they got along so well, and you could see that. Like 2018, when I saw them all together, and you could just, the vibe was definitely positive.
Yeah.
You know, I said this to him and Kiski in the interview. I was like, because he came up to me, he's like, he looked at me because they introduced him to me. I'd never met him, and they're like, he's looking at me. He goes, man, he goes, this is so different. He goes, I love being back here. It's so different from what it was before, and it is.
Right.
You know, I mean, they don't have Noise Records trying to rob them. You know what I'm saying? So
right.
that. But what I'm saying is that he's like, it's so different. I'm so glad to be back here. Completely different vibe from you remember what he would say in interviews.
Oh, he hated metal. Yep.
Right. But obviously he's not angry anymore. But the whole way he rejoined the band was crazy. Like when, Wikey walked up to him, and this is something Wikey would do, just straight up, no BS. And he looked at him and said, hey, he goes, what have I done that's so bad that you hate me?
Right.
And how do you respond to that?
Right.
And then Kiski's in the interview that I did with him. He's like, that was the best way to approach it. Because then he's like, I thought to myself, I'm not angry anymore. Right. And that's kind of how the whole thing, that was kind of what jump started it. So I think that the way they approached that was cautious. And then once they realized they get along really well, that's not when they go on stage, that's not fake. Those dudes all get along really well.
It looks like it. I can tell from the interviews and stuff that they do. And
correct. And the vibe, I can tell you the vibe of the band pre 2003 compared to what it is now. Right. It's just completely different. You haven't had anybody leave the band or get fired in 20 years.
Yeah.
And all they've done is add 2 people that used to be in the band. So they've done something that no metal band has ever done, and made it, and it's successful. And see, the thing is, I don't see this lineup changing again.
I don't see it.
No, I mean, it's
wood.
just the vibe.
Maybe Kai, because he's always in and out of things, but I don't think he's. I don't think so.
No, they're going to be they're going to be together, in my opinion. Just the vibe and just everybody's demeanor and the way they are. They're going to be together till the end of days, until the band ends. I mean, this is going to be the lineup. I just don't see it. There's no going back. I mean, this has done so well for them, and they get along so well. The management does a phenomenal job with what they have going on. They market the album really well. I mean, everything they're doing is like a well-oiled machine. I just don't see this ending.
Yeah, I hope not.
It's just how it is. Until they retire, it's not going to end. I think it's going to be the same. And, look at the interview with Andy. And just look at him.
Back and watch that. Yeah.
If you go back and watch it, look at how relaxed he is in the interview. He's just kicking back, just hanging out. I mean, literally, I've known the man for a long time. I can tell you that they're just relaxed and happy. It's just where they are right now. And one of the interviews that we did, we brought up this book. It's a book that I have a lot of philosophy. We brought up the book. It's called, oh man, what is it? I can't remember what it's called now. Oh, The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
If you read that book, it's about not getting mad over small things and stupid stuff. And that's like the Bible for that. I mean, he talked about that book a lot, and he's always been a pretty laid back dude to begin with, but you read that book, and that's kind of how everybody is. People just don't, and think of it this way. When you get up there, think of how good those guys sound live, because they don't have to stress themselves. If one dude has an off night, the other guy just steps right in, who's having the on night, and can sing the parts and no one will ever know.
Yeah, exactly.
The only people I feel bad for is Marcus and Danny, because they don't get to take breaks. They have to play the whole set, right?
Can we say Marcus is like the MVP of that band, because his bass lines are not easy. They're no joke.
Mm-mm.
And I don't think he's ever had an off night from the filmed video that I've seen of him.
Marcus is a machine, dude. And I think part of the reason his bass lines are as good as they are is that in his off time, I don't know about now, but back in the day, he would play in bass in just random local bands, some of which weren't even metal bands. And he would do that a lot. He probably doesn't do that now, but I can tell you that he played. He played in this kind of like this band called Kick Hunter, which was it was just different. It wasn't metal really.
Like a bar
but
band, really.
kind of, yeah. But I don't know if anybody's heard it. I mean, but it's more like I can't really describe the music, but it's definitely not metal. And he had some pretty. It had like a '70s kind of vibe to it a little bit, but it wasn't metal at all. And he really just his bass lines were phenomenal in that. And I think just playing the way that he has over the years, I mean, that's why he's as good as he is.
Yeah.
You know. So
Definitely.
I think they actually played. I think they did well into making this a success by approaching it step by step, not just jumping into it. And they felt it. Everybody felt each other out as from a personal standpoint, and they've just grown. So now you have seven. They bring this up a lot in interviews. You have seven completely different individuals in a band. None of these people are alike at all,
Right.
but they make it work. And I could vouch to you that none of these guys are the same at all.
Hey, the chemistry is pretty evident. I mean, like, these two albums are, fantastic. So, and this new one is great. So, 8.5 out of 10 for me.
8.5.
For
Yeah.
me,
I say the same thing.
yeah.
Yeah. The only thing that bothers me is the production a little bit, but it's the typical Charlie Bauerfeind production. So
Mm.
when you hear it, you'll hear it. But it's a great album. I love it. I think it's better
I'll
than
give
the
it an
last
8.5
album.
too.
Yeah. It's a solid album. Not one bad song on it.
No,
Solid ass album.
no, there really isn't a song on this album where you want to be like, I want to skip it.
Yeah, not one. Usually there is like one or two songs I'll skip, but not this one. They're all really good.
No.
One other thing before we leave, Tony, because we're running out of time here. We've got another show going on. I heard you got struck by lightning like 6 or 7 years ago. How did that happen?
To basically put it bluntly, the building I'm in right now, there was a storm. I was by a door. Lightning hit an outside carriage light, hit me, and went through the building, blew up half the electronics, and pretty much what happened. I was inside when it happened.
Thank God you lived to tell the tale.
Well,
Yeah.
and that's why in my review, if you listen to the lyrics of Into the Sun, when that happened to me, I was thinking, man, is this the end or am I going to come back? Right.
You mean
And then
Hand of
then
God?
you look at Hand of God. I told Sasha this in the review because they remember when that happened because I don't know what it was. I'll tell you the funny story about that. The day after that happened, I came home and I forgot I had an interview with Michael Romeo from Symphony X. And I did this interview with him. It was really bizarre. And then he gave me his phone number in the interview and was like, yeah, if you ever want to redo this, call me. Like he offered me to call him. But I found it by accident like a month after I did it on a portable recording device I had, which I don't know why I used that, but I did. And I called him back. We did the interview. So that was the kind of funny thing that happened. But those guys knew about that because I think I might have emailed one of them and showed them pictures of what happened. And then when I went and met them, like a month and a half later, it's kind of funny because I come in and there was a certain individual. I walk in, I hear Thunderstruck by AC/DC. I hear Ride the Lightning by Metallica. I hear Doc and Lightning Strikes Again. And a couple of these guys, and it was fine. I wasn't in the greatest mood about it, but it really eased my mood just seeing those guys again. But it was definitely when I said in the review that the set of lyrics Andy Darris wrote for Into the Sun, probably the best I think he's ever written. That's part of the reason why. Because I related to that song and I related to Hand of God so well lyrically. And I think that's probably why I like those songs as much as I do from that standpoint. So, you know, it's pretty much, so that's pretty much what happened. I mean, there's no elaborate crazy thing that happened. I wasn't outside, you know, it just blew a wall out.
Wow. Any lasting like injuries or anything? Or
So I told Michael Kiske about it when I met him, or someone told him about it, and he started telling me about somebody he knew that got hit by lightning, and they'd never played piano anymore before, but then they suddenly knew how to do it.
wow.
Yeah, I think that's what he said to me. My lasting superpower is I can remember what somebody did 10 years ago at 10:45 p.m. on a Friday. And I'm not kidding you. That's how good of a memory I have now.
So some good came out of it, I guess.
So like in the workplace, for example, I can remember exactly, like when I was in the auto repair business, someone would bring a car in that we hadn't seen in 2 years. I would see it and I'd automatically associate that car with a repair that I know was done to it. Like I'm like, oh yeah, we replaced an alternator in that like 2 years ago without even looking in the computer. A lady looks at you like, how do you remember that? You know, I'm your 2006 Sonata. I remember it came in, the belt was broken, the pulley seized up on the alternator, and we replaced it. It was actually inexpensive because it was easy to get to. And you also had mice chew on the wires, and we replaced spark plug wires, so we replaced those. And then, you know, I would see cars, I would just see the car, and it would equate it, and that's kind of, it's weird, but I remember almost everything and anything that happened to me. So it's just, I remember faces, I remember conversations, I remember all this crazy stuff.
So you got a superpower.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, we're lucky to still have you here. So that's
so you know, so you know what? I'll tell you the funny thing is, it's, you know, the people that have that superpower, that remember everything, typically everything you did like 2 years ago on a Sunday at 1:00, women remember that.
Right.
So I have that same superpower that they do. That's just how they, because women are detail oriented. It's nothing bad, not bad. I'm just saying in general, women are very detail oriented and they have really good memories of everything.
So you got struck by lightning and turned into a woman.
I didn't do that, but you know, I probably would be looked upon very, if I did do that, I'd be looked upon very favorably by some people in America, but that's not what happened.
No, and we're not going to get into that.
I ended up getting that kind of superpower. Like I always tell everybody, when I was in the restaurant business, the best kitchens ran with all women, because every single thing that happened in the kitchen, I ran the best food cost numbers, everything. They kept track of everything. And it was because of that.
Interesting. Well, I'm glad you're still here.
Well, thank you.
I'm glad that was
definitely. It was nice meeting you tonight.
Yeah, nice meeting you.
It's a good show, and I'm glad that you came on the show. We don't have you on too often, but we need to have you on more often, because 5 years or 4 years or whatever it was, it's too long.
I think it was 2 years ago, 3 years ago. I don't remember. I think it was. But no, I'll tell you exactly when it was.
It was a Christmas show.
It was a Christmas show. There were like 20 people on.
Yeah.
But if I remember correctly, it was 2022. And there were a ton of people, and half of them got mad at you because they don't like your views on life. So I know like half that panel is now out of your life, Wayne. So
no, only one of them, not half of them.
It's not half.
Well, if it was 2022, Unknown wouldn't have been on.
Oh no, he was on. He was on for like a few minutes. Yeah.
Not in 2022.
No, you think so?
Maybe 2021, because 2022 he wasn't talking to us because we took his bass player.
No, well, too bad.
Stealing his bass player.
Yeah, we had to do
that. That's right.
Well, gentlemen, it was nice to talk to you all.
Nice to talk to you too.
Had a lot of fun.
And tell people where they can watch your show, The Metal Command, because I thought it was on like a podcast, but it's not. So it's only on YouTube and Facebook. Where else is it?
YouTube, Facebook. I am working on streaming it as a podcast, but I found that as an audio podcast, it wasn't. A lot of people tune into YouTube and Facebook. Probably the two best avenues for that at this point. And
me personally, I'm an iTunes guy, because it just I can.
I was on iTunes, and I'm contemplating doing that again, but I don't know. It's weird. Facebook, oddly enough, gets me the most traffic. I don't know why. I've never figured that out. But
because people are already on there and they just see you on, they stay on there and watch you.
yeah, so there's no radio show anymore. It's basically in my podcast when I had them on iTunes, like the original ones when I started doing that were pretty funny actually.
Yeah.
There was more funny stuff that I used to say, but I've probably geared my show a little differently now. So if you watch it or listen to it, it's on YouTube, it's on Facebook. Best places to interact with me. Twitter's useless for music podcasts or bands for that matter, or X or whatever you want to call it. Instagram isn't the greatest. So for me, personally, it's definitely YouTube or Facebook for now.
Well,
that may change.
All right. Well, let us know. The Metal Command. Go check it out, YouTube and Facebook, and hit that subscribe button on his shows and on our shows, and go to severedangel.com and get the last Severed Angel album from When Eternity Ends, and all our other albums, or you can go to roxrecords.com.
Can I say one thing?
What?
Am I allowed to say one thing about your band really quick?
Of course, if it's good.
It is.
Otherwise, I'll have to mute you. What? Go ahead.
I think your next record's going to be really good, just so you know.
I don't think you've heard the next record. You've heard the next record. The song I sent you last was
whatever that was that you sent me was really good.
I'll send you something from the next record.
It was good.
The song that you wrote, though.
The song that I wrote.
Yeah, it's really good.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
As soon as I heard the guitar riffs, within 30 seconds, I'm like, I know I'm going to like the song, just the way that it came off.
So far, it's my favorite song we've done.
Wayne?
Yeah, it's cool. It's grown on me.
Now, when I'm done here, I'm going to go record a podcast and review the most bizarre record probably ever recorded by a guy in heavy metal. Balls to Picasso.
I do like that one.
I do too, but I have a funny backstory behind it, but very bizarre record. So I'm going to record my review for my next actual regular episode after I'm done here. So you just warmed up my voice.
All right. Well, get to it, and we will see you guys next week.
Until next week.
Bye-bye.
Later, guys. Pick up the new Helloween album when it comes out.
That's right. What is it? August 29th, right?
August
29th.
Yeah.
I got all the vinyl variants, but the purple one.
I got the purple one.
Of course you did.
Goodbye.